This video shows how to drain your above ground pool at the end of the season. You can see in here that I have the intake to the pump in the pool. It goes through the wall. I've taken the filter out. You can see it over there. It comes down here to this manifold that I made, and I can attach 3 hoses to it. One important feature is right here. If you look and see this valve, that valve has an outside diameter that is just right for the hose to fit on. I think I had to put a little wrap of duct tape just to make it snug, but with that, I just hose clamp the hose onto that. That's also important because you can turn that off and isolate the pump so you can fill it, because this needs to be completely full of water. And then you can fill this hose and set it under the water while it's full, turn on the pump, and then open this valve. It directs water through these hoses. You can see one of them I have goes out here, and I've dug some trenches so that it waters this entire line of trees along here. And I get my entire back row of trees watered that way with one hose. Then over here I have a tree, and I've got a hose that goes over to it, and so it's running like that. And then this other hose, you can see the third one, runs up here, and I have another row of trees over here, a pine tree and some fruit trees. And you can see I just start here, have that hose running. That's just being pumped from the pool. It comes down to this tree, down to this tree, and ultimately to this tree. So with those 3 hoses, I'm watering all the trees in my backyard, and I'm using the water in the pool to do it. You'll notice that there's a lot of leaves and some dirt. So what I'm going to do when the water gets a little bit lower is get in there when it's about knee high, get all those leaves, and I'm going to attach my vacuum. This is my vacuum right here. I'm going to attach my vacuum to it. Again, I put the whole thing underwater so I don't introduce any air into it. I put it in there, and it will also suck all that dirt. I don't know if you can see that dirt on the bottom. It'll suck all that dirt out and blow it out into here, because there's no filter in the pump, and it uses up pretty much all the water. There's just a tiny bit left. So I'm getting the leaves out. I've netted a lot of the ones off the top, and now I'm just going to net the ones off the bottom and get all of these out. Okay, I've put the vacuum in, I've pushed the hose all the way underwater. This is the last part. You can see the water's coming up. It's completely full of water. Then all I do is slip that inside of here like that. It makes a really tight fit. And now the vacuum is pulling suction to vacuum out the pool. You can see all that dirt, and when you move this thing over it, it just draws it in. And what it's doing is it's pushing all of that out, and it's pushing it out the hoses and into the garden. And I'm going to go around and get all of this dirt out of here before the pool empties, just to clean it up. Okay, as you can see, I've gone around and vacuumed. I've got the dirt out. It's pretty clean. It's not perfect, but it's pretty clean. It got a lot of that fine silt kind of dirt out of here. Now, as it drains the last few hours, there's going to be leaves and things that blow in, so there'll be a little cleanup to do. But for the most part, it's pretty clean, and I can go back to letting it suck the water out. Next, I'm going to show a little way that I keep this hose here from sucking onto the side or the bottom of the pool. That can stop the suction if it gets sucked against it. Right now it's doing okay, but when it gets really low, it wants to do that. So I'll show you how I do that. Okay, this is what I do to the end of the hose. You can see I put a little plastic piece with the rubber band over it. That way you can see when it pushes against something, it can't get sucked up against it tight, because what I'm going to do is put it against the bottom of the pool like this so that it can get most of the water out. but not suck onto the bottom of the pool. You know, there's a drain in here, and I've tried using that drain, but it's so small that it takes forever to drain the pool, and I can't get it to go out to these various places to water the trees. That way it just trickles out. So I'm going to use this milk crate. I'm going to attach the hose to this to hold it in place so that it'll be flat against the bottom of the pool, and then just let it suck as far down as it possibly can to get as much out as possible. And then the last little bit I'll have to get out by hand. One last thing I'll say is, before I started this, I took the chlorine tablets. I have those little floating chlorine tablet things. I took them out for 24 hours to let the chlorine dissipate, so that when I pump this out, it's not heavily chlorinated for the trees and everything. But I'm going to go ahead and attach this hose now. Okay, I've got it tied to the milk crate. That's just to hold it in place so that it will be pretty close to flat against the bottom of the pool. Try to get as much water as it can. I guess we'll see how low it goes down. Okay, here's how the pool drained. As you can see, there's some dry spots. Over here, there's still some standing water, but it's not too deep. I think next year I'm going to put the pump over here. This looks like the deepest spot. Maybe it's, I don't know, a quarter of an inch or half-inch deep. You can see there's a floating leaf out there. And then just run the exit of the pump out the wall. Move the pump a little closer to the deepest spot. But you got most of it, so there's a little bit left to clean out, and then fold it up. I used a bucket and a dustpan to just scoop the water that was remaining into the bucket and dump it over the side. And you can see it went pretty quick. It's not that bad. I could have made it easier on myself by lowering the side to throw it out. There's little pockets of water left. I'm going to get a mop and just clean those up so it's dry when I fold it up. But that got most of it out. I used a mop in the bucket to get all those little pockets of water out. And with the sun shining, it helps to evaporate any little bit that's in there, but it's pretty dry right now. So I'm gonna disassemble the frame to the pool. While I'm doing that, the sun will dry any of the rest of it. It'll be pretty dry by the time it's ready to be folded up and put away. While I'm taking all this apart, I thought I'd show you a close-up of the manifold I made. It's pretty simple. It's just PVC parts. This is just a quarter-turn ball valve, and you can see I wrapped a little bit of duct tape around the end to make it just big enough so that this end of the hose fits on there perfectly. Then a hose clamp keeps it tight. And then I used 3 hoses, so I just put PVC fittings together to give it 3 different outlets. I also have some caps so I can cap off these 2 if I just want to use one hose and direct it all to one place. I also wanted to show you, so this is a close-up of what I did. I just used a rubber band to hold it. This is just a piece of plastic that I cut, and that just holds that on the end so that when I put this down in the pool, it doesn't suck against the bottom. It gives it a little bit of relief so that it can suck water all the way to the very end.